Boston, 1950. A winter night cloaked in silence. Then, boom, $2.7 million vanishes in minutes from a fortified vault in the heart of the city. No fingerprints, no alarms, no suspects. Just 12 shadows who vanished like ghosts. This is the story the FBI feared. This is the Great Brink's Robbery. They called it the crime of the century. But what if I told you it wasn't just about money? What if I told you this heist wasn't supposed to succeed? Let's go back. January 17th, 1950. A bitterly cold Tuesday night in Boston. The city is winding down. But at 165 Prince Street, inside the Brink security depot, something deadly quiet is about to erupt. Brink's was known as the Fort Knox of Boston. Triple reinforced steel doors, timed vaults, armed guards. Security routine so tight you'd have better luck stealing from the Treasury. But inside a smoky dive bar 2 blocks away, a man named Joseph Big Joe McGinnis slowly sips his whiskey. He's watching the snowfall outside. And he's not alone. Around him sit 6 men, calm, confident, dangerous. They've spent the last 2 years studying every shift change at Brink's, every truck arrival, every blind spot. They know the guards by name. They know who eats what during breaks. And tonight, it's showtime. By 6:55 p.m., 7 masked men move silently through the alleyway behind Brink's. They are armed, but not looking for violence. They don't need it. They've timed it to the second. One of the guards, who'd just gone on break, had left the side door unlocked, just for a few minutes. That was all they needed. In just 17 minutes, they bound and gagged 5 employees. No shots fired, no alarms. They head straight for the counting room, where stacks of cash and checks are laid out like a feast. $1.2 million in cash. $1.5 million in checks and securities. The total haul? $2.7 million. That's over $33 million today. Not a single shell casing, not a single fingerprint. The robbers vanish without a trace. The FBI was humiliated. Boston police locked down the city. Airports were put on alert. Roadblocks were everywhere. Brink's offered a $100,000 reward. Nothing. All 12 robbers disappeared like smoke. No one talked. No one slipped. The city was gripped by fear and admiration. These weren't amateurs. This was a military-style operation pulled off with surgical precision. FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover called it the perfect crime. But privately, he was furious. The Bureau assigned 650 agents to the case. Every ex-con in Boston was rounded up. But the crew had planned for that. Their alibis were airtight. They went back to their normal lives. Some even went on vacation. But behind the scenes, they had one rule. Don't spend the money. Not yet. They knew the FBI was watching. Knew they had to wait until the heat died down. And so, they waited. 2 years later, the case was cold. But then came the first crack. A low-level criminal named Joseph Specs O'Keefe, one of the original 12, had been arrested on an unrelated charge. The FBI leaned hard on him, but he refused to talk. Until someone tried to kill him. In jail, O'Keefe was shot at by a hitman. Twice. He got the message loud and clear. The gang didn't want him talking. That's when Specs flipped. He told the FBI everything. Names, plans, getaway routes, hideouts, even where some of the money was stashed. One by one, the original Brink's crew were arrested. But here's the twist. Less than half the money was ever recovered. Over $1.5 million simply vanished, and to this day has never been found. When Joseph Specs O'Keefe cracked, the FBI pounced. He laid out the entire blueprint of the heist. The ringleader? Anthony Fats Pino, a small-time mobster with big-time ambition. A man who once said, "The job ain't risky unless someone gets greedy." Specs said Pino brought the crew together in late 1947. 11 men, all hand-picked. Safecrackers, getaway drivers, lookouts, muscle. Each had a role. Each trusted the others until paranoia started to set in. As FBI agents rolled through the city, the dominoes began to fall. Arrests came fast. Vincent Costa, the driver. Stanley Gusiora, explosives expert. Michael Geegan, brute force. Thomas Sandy Richardson, Henry Baker, Adolph Jazz Maffey, James Faraday, and others. 12 men were indicted, 10 stood trial. But the mystery deepened. Where was the money? Of the original $2.7 million, only $58,000 was ever recovered. Agents searched basements, wall cavities, even cemeteries. Nothing. Had they burned it? Buried it? Or was someone still holding the rest? O'Keefe's testimony destroyed the crew. But what he didn't know was how the gang turned on itself even before his arrest. There were whispers that Fats Pino had been stashing away more than his share, that some members weren't getting what they were owed. Richardson once told an FBI informant, "We didn't get rich, we got robbed by one of our own." The loyalty crumbled, the silence broke. Fats was caught in a web of lies, and in court, O'Keefe laid it bare. He testified for 4 full days. No emotion, no hesitation. When the verdict came, it hit like a hammer. All convicted. Each received life sentences. But Fats Pino, he never admitted guilt. He went to the grave claiming he was innocent. The public didn't buy it. But the deeper question was never answered. Who got the money? For decades, whispers echoed in Boston's underworld that Fats Pino had an offshore connection, that some of the money was laundered through real estate, pawn shops, even art galleries. Some say he buried it under a church in Somerville. Others think it was smuggled out in a coffin, hidden during a funeral. But the most chilling theory? That someone never got caught at all. You see, O'Keefe named 11 men, but the FBI always suspected there was a 13th, an inside man, someone who never showed their face, never spent a dime, but orchestrated everything. 75 years later, the Brink's robbery remains one of the most daring and mysterious heists in U.S. history. Books were written, movies were made, even The Town and Heat borrowed from its blueprint. It taught the FBI a lesson. Sometimes, the cleanest crimes leave no trace. What separates the Brink's job from every other robbery is what came next. No wild car chases, no gunfights, no high-tech gadgets. Just cold, calculating minds, a stolen key, and silence. They didn't need masks to disappear. They became legends. A decade ago, during renovations at an old house in Lynn, Massachusetts, a worker found a sealed container inside a wall. Inside were stacks of Brink's-era bills, crisp, marked. Serial numbers matched the 1950 theft, but no fingerprints, no clue whose they were. The house? Once owned by a cousin of one of the original suspects. Coincidence? Or proof that some of the Brink's money still lies in the shadows? And maybe, just maybe, so does the one man who was never caught. The perfect crime. 12 men punished, but millions still missing. Could you solve the mystery? What would you do with $2.7 million if no one ever knew? Drop your theory in the comments. Do you believe someone got away with it? Or was justice truly served? Like, follow, and subscribe for more stories that history tried to bury. But we dig them up. Who were the men behind the masks? To understand the Brink's job, you have to understand the minds that pulled it off. These weren't just petty crooks. They were professionals, most of them with rap sheets, but none flashy enough to attract federal eyes. Let's meet a few of them. Anthony Fats Pino, a short, heavy-set mob associate with a gift for manipulation. Known for running small gambling rackets in Boston's North End, he had dreams of something bigger. He wasn't just the planner, he was the recruiter, the conductor of this criminal symphony. Joseph Specs O'Keefe, small-time armed robber, nicknamed Specs because of his thick glasses. Intelligent, hot-tempered, and ultimately, the man whose words brought it all down. Michael Geegan, tall, intimidating, muscle for hire, arrested more than once for assault but never convicted. He was the enforcer of the crew. Stanley Gusiora, known for his skill with explosives, but ironically in this heist, no bombs were used. Gusiora's role remained murky. Some believe he was brought in just as backup muscle. Adolph Jazz Maffey, a professional thief and one of the more mysterious members. Unlike others, Jazz was known to vanish for months. Some think he had ties to organized crime families in Chicago. These men weren't bonded by friendship. They were bonded by a single bloodless goal: to hit Brinks and disappear. Inside the bureau, the failure to crack the case nearly tore them apart. J. Edgar Hoover, known for his obsessive control, was furious. It wasn't just about money, it was about pride. This was 1950. America was riding high after the war. The FBI was selling itself as all-seeing, all-knowing. The Brinks job humiliated them. Hoover reassigned over 650 agents, launched over 25,000 interviews, and set up surveillance on hundreds of homes across Massachusetts, New York, and even Canada. Still, nothing. Leads went cold, informants were useless, the crew had vanished like smoke. Worse, Hoover was under pressure from Washington. Reporters dubbed it the FBI's biggest embarrassment, and he hated it. So when Specs O'Keefe started talking, Hoover pounced. He made the trial a spectacle, but behind closed doors, the FBI still couldn't find the money. And to Hoover, that meant the job wasn't over. To the people of Boston, the Brinks heist was more than just a crime. It was a legend being written in real time. Newspapers sold out daily. Rumors spread like wildfire. People stopped trusting each other. Was the friendly shop owner down the street hiding millions? Was the neighbor's sudden new Cadillac a red flag? In bars and barbershops, one phrase echoed: "They'll never catch 'em all." Some folks admired them. Some feared them. But most were just waiting for someone to slip, for money to show up, for revenge to strike. They didn't know how right they were. Interrogation rooms ran day and night. O'Keefe was grilled relentlessly, offered protection, deals, even relocation. But the others stayed silent. Fats Pino barely said a word. He refused to name names, claimed it was all a setup, that he was just a pawn in someone else's game. But behind his silence was a smile. Investigators later wrote in their report, Pino acted like a man who'd already won. Meanwhile, Jazz Maffey and Geegan sat stone-faced during questioning, and yet every agent walked away with the same gut feeling. These men knew something they weren't saying. In October 1955, 5 years after the heist, the trial began. Boston was electric. Lines stretched around the courthouse. Reporters camped out for days. Every testimony made headlines. The prosecution brought in O'Keefe as their star witness. He walked the jury through the plan, step by step. Every detail matched what little evidence the FBI had recovered. O'Keefe didn't hold back. He called the others liars, cowards, and thieves who thought they were kings. Some crew members shouted at him in court. One even tried to lunge at him. But the jury listened. In the end, convicted. All of them. 10 men. Life sentences. The judge called it a crime without conscience. But what he didn't say was what everyone was still thinking. Where was the money? What happened to the money? To this day, nearly $1.5 million is still unaccounted for. And over the decades, strange clues began to surface. In 1974, a man claimed he found cash wrapped in wax paper inside a rotting log in Connecticut. The serial numbers? Too faded to confirm. In 1983, a retired detective said he followed a lead to a swamp outside Boston, but the trail disappeared in the mud. And in 1991, a storage locker in New Jersey was seized. Inside, old vault equipment, detailed sketches of the Brink's floor plan, and an uncashed check from 1949. FBI agents reopened the case briefly, but no arrests were made. And still, the money is missing. Or is it? In 2001, a forgotten photo emerged from an old police archive, taken in a Boston bar the night before the heist. In the background, 11 known men from the Brink's crew, but next to them, a 12th face, unidentified, wearing a fedora. Partially turned, no name, no record, digital facial recognition failed. Some believe it was the true mastermind, the alleged 13th man O'Keefe hinted at before his death, a man never arrested, never named, never even mentioned publicly. Could this unknown figure have been the one holding the strings, the one who escaped with everything? Tell us, do you believe there was a mastermind who escaped? Or was this crime already perfect? Let us know in the comments. You might just solve what the FBI couldn't. Subscribe and follow for more real-life heists decoded for the first time. Comment below so we can reveal the rest of the story. Stay tuned and remain plugged to the channel for more.